your team process. Keys to team success. Create an infrastructure blueprint. Define realistic team expectations and do that for multiple team types. At a minimum, do it for work process teams, do it for focus teams, and then do it for your project teams. And actually, your focus teams probably need to have team expectations specific to the strategic objective they're supporting or the key performance area they're supporting. We want to define resource requirements and the investments necessary to support them. Balance output expectations with commitments. So first of all, what are we willing to commit? What's a reasonable output based on that level of commitment? Make sure mechanisms such as decision matrices and recognition systems and balanced scorecards, things like that, are in place to help link team efforts to organizational goals. Alignment is talked about first because it's the most important. Define and accept self-imposed output limits. So if you only choose to have X number of teams, realize you can only go so fast. If you can only give teams an hour a week, expect a slower pace of change. You've been exposed to a variety of tools that will help you improve the effectiveness of your team, should you choose to use them. The key to having effective teams is to provide your teams with an infrastructure that supports the expectations that you have of each of them. As you move forward with implementing some form of team infrastructure in your organization, please keep the following tips in mind. As we clearly define our existing and desired team infrastructure, think about the different team types. We already have teams in place. Let's look at what resource requirements our current teams are placing on our overall work systems. So that's what I always like to do first. Take the time to complete a simple blueprint for each site and look at how people are being deployed to teams currently, and then maybe think about some what ifs. As you define expectations for your team, be specific in terms of project quality, cycle times, impact on the organization. Develop these expectations within a group effort between management and the team. Try to have an open dialogue. At a minimum, give them defined by your management group key things to focus on. Say, here's our expectations. Here's what we need. Does anyone have challenges with this? Can we reach consensus on these expectations? Define resource requirements and limitations. After defining expectations, also list the specific resources that will be provided to help your teams meet those expectations. As you do this, make the resource expectation commitment link evident. Reaching consensus on your own rates for the investment ratios I show you will help you do this. So work through the examples in the book. Think about what some of these team support ratios of your own, what they might be, high and low, and then you're much more prepared to look at what kind of team efforts you're willing to manage. For example, a group might say, we're going to let each team member have 1 hour between meetings each week to work on their project. But when the busy season hits, we may have to reduce this allowance. Don't be afraid to define where your investment limits are. It's real life. It's better to find the limitations up front and work within them than it is to have them emerge over time as your teams begin to struggle and your people become frustrated. Key team learnings over time. And these are some things I've picked up over the years. I want to share them with you, go into a tad bit more detail on them. But I think you know now, I feel that all organizations have teams, groups of people that count on each other to succeed. There's 3 main types of teams: focus teams, work process teams, and project teams. Focus teams are like safety committees, recognition teams, leadership teams. Because there's different types of teams and people have used different names for teams all over the place, operational definitions are a must. Work teams typically don't have time built into their job to leave the work area and work on projects. The support ratios are key to driving project team success. The expectation commitment balance is a key, and we need to focus on all 4 investment types for the best results. This will help you avoid future team failures. Resource definitions should be based on the support ratios we've looked at here in this course. Make it clear what time will be provided for team support, what information will be made available, what training will be provided, and what other support, such as facilitation, will be possible. As was the case with the between meeting time example we looked at earlier, be sure to define boundaries and limitations. If we get busy, we may have to change the game a little bit. If we slow back down, we can change the game back. If we do this up front, we avoid a lot of problems. Balance expectations with investment commitment levels. Be sure that everyone understands the trade-offs that exist between defined team expectations and investment levels. The expectations you have on your teams can be challenging, but they should not be unrealistic or unfair. If they are, frustration is the primary team output instead of a completed project. Remember, most organizations fail to understand and appreciate these trade-offs. In turn, unstated expectations are not met, and formal team processes slowly die. You want to link team improvements to the goals of the organization. Time is of the essence in organizations. This limited resource of time must be spent on projects that will make the most difference in the shortest amount of time. Additionally, people need to know what is important and why if they are to maintain a high level of motivation from project to project and from day to day. Try to define a compelling "what's in it for me" for both the short and long term, for both project teams, work teams, and focus teams. If you follow these guidelines and invest the personal time necessary to understand, define, and address the current limitations of your team infrastructure, you will go a long way towards avoiding future team failures. Work with others to improve the teams that you already have. Be sure that the new ones you start up are properly supported. Make sure they have a vision of the role they're supposed to play, and make sure they're both informally and formally recognized for their contributions. Possible action plan items. Possible action plan items can be grouped into 3 categories: improve meeting effectiveness, improve team facilitation and leadership skills, and minimize team redundancy. You may also want to estimate the total amount of time currently that you're spending and possibly wasting in groups to help motivate you to make system-based team infrastructure changes. So for example, if we're trying to convince people of the need to start tracking meeting defects, let's look at how many dollars people believe they're currently wasting in their teams. A step-by-step plan is provided in the meeting effectiveness section of this workbook. Start here to both harvest the low-hanging environment fruit that exists and to help build momentum towards larger types of team-related change. One of these steps involves the second category presented above: improve team facilitation and leadership skills. Recognize that most team leaders have not been exposed to practice-based team facilitation skills as part of their formal education. This learning void needs to be filled if you truly want to sustain higher levels of team effectiveness across your organization. Also, recognize that you may not be able to reduce your meeting effectiveness measurement and process checks over time, but you should not expect to eliminate the use of your meeting management tools at some point in the future. Last but not least, you need to design an effective team infrastructure. Most organizations have too many teams in play, whether they are effective or not. Higher levels of team involvement help drive empowerment and engagement levels, but they should not be pursued without first establishing a solid foundation for managing the performance of your existing teams. Most organizations are designed around the daily work to be done. They support the value stream. They're in the value stream. Our goal is to get products or services to the customer. Few organizations have modified these daily work designs to include time for team use. Instead, teams have been approached as an add-on process that people are somehow supposed to fit into their daily work schedule. That will give you future failures. Don't continue to repeat this design flaw going forward. Well, that brings us to the end of Lesson 11. It brings us to the end of the Facilitating and Leading Teams workbook. You can buy either a print copy of the workbook or the ebook at Amazon.com. And if you're having trouble getting one through Amazon, just contact me, Kevin, at GreatSystems.com. I wish you the best with your facilitating and leading team efforts, with your team infrastructure design process, and with your organizational improvement initiatives. Please don't hesitate to contact me if you've got questions. I love to help organizations, teams, and individuals improve. Have a great day. Keep learning, and most importantly, keep improving.